Hi, my name's Graham Saxby. I currently study at UB for VFX. That's what I want to be, is a VFX artist. And I've previously done a lot of other jobs, but my main first job was being in the Royal Australian Army. I joined in the end of '89 because I was at high school at the time, 17. The folks had to obviously sign, because in Australia you can join at 17, but your parents must give you permission, as in a sense of technically being still underage. Everybody was actually quite shocked. I remember sort of my drama teacher coming up, and she was actually had a little tear in her eye and stuff, and she was like, I just found out you're going into the army. Why? I was a service kid. Most of my life the old man had been in the army, and then I'd been pretty much brought up to be a soldier. It was just trained and drilled into me as a child, sort of thing. But the thing was that I also loved being on stage or performing or acting or just doing film-based stuff. Like one of my first films that I saw on the big screen was Star Wars, when it first came out in '77. And up until that stage, any sci-fi that we had seen, it was like kind of pitiful. Like you knew that the monsters were in rubber masks and the spaceships were like on fishing wire, and you're like, oh, that's just so, like, your imagination would run with it because you'd be like, oh, it's so cool, but you'd be like, that's just so absurd. And then when we saw Star Wars, like the opening, just like, the words go up and it's quiet, and you're like, oh yeah, and next minute you're in this theatre and boom, the lightning blast and the attacks of the spaceships, and it's like, holy crap, you sort of like jumped out of your chair. I kind of wanted to go that way, but it was that, I know, that torn between. Industry jobs are not like they are now. Like there's so much because of obviously CGI, computers, green screens, all the technical stuff that has increased because of computers and people wanting more out of their TV shows, out of their movies, out of apps and PCs and games and so forth. Whereas back then it was kind of sort of like, nah. Like if you don't go into that industry, like you don't get a living out of doing entertainment stuff. I was in the army for about just under 7 years. I did multiple different jobs. I learnt like basic chefing, transport, driving like most vehicles, field craft and stuff like that, aircraft technician for a while, working on Black Hawks and Hueys and stuff like that. And then that's when I actually had my injury, which in the end ended up ending my career. At one of the airfields we were at one day, there was a plane that was coming in late. And it was Friday evening, and I was like, oh, I'm just so tired, I just want to get out of here and go have some beers with the mates. And one of the guys popped his head in and he said, oh, look, we've got a late plane coming in. We need some help to basically tie it down and stuff like that and secure it. And the guy sort of went, oh, do you mind giving us a hand? I went, yeah, sure, like, always willing to give a hand. I was working on underneath the nose of the aircraft, and one of the guys who was working underneath the belly, which was underneath the wings obviously, he was having issues with doing the job that he was doing there. So I said, oh, I can give you a hand. So I rolled back, gave him a hand, fixed it, and then instantly just jumped straight out. And when I jumped straight out, I'd forgotten just for that split second that I was actually underneath the wing, and it was actually going. It was actually on its wind down. Apparently I came straight out, and it just went smack straight through the back of the scalp and through the back of the brain. And the pilot apparently he was sitting there and he just went, oh my God, he did not just do that. And he said all he next minute he just saw a fountain of blood just spurt out. And he was like, oh crap. One of the guys raced into the control tower and said, look, we've got a guy just gone into a propeller. Nobody responded apparently quickly because they were like, oh crap, he's dead. So, oh yeah, he's finished. And he was like, no, he's still alive. And they're like, holy crap, he's still alive. So next minute out came the paramedics and the ambulances raced onto the field. And I wake up in hospital, and first thing obviously coming out of anyone's kind of sort of head is like, I have a splitting headache. And the room starts to laugh, and good mates of mine are like having a good giggle, and I'm like, what's so frickin' funny? I said, because my head really hurts, I feel like I've got a splitting headache. That made them laugh even more. That kind of sort of put me off my game a little. I then, shortly after that, had another head injury. I was helping out in the kitchen, and it was really early in the morning. I don't remember, because this time I had complete amnesia when I came through. What was told to me was that it looked like basically I'd gone into one of those big walk-in fridge freezer sort of deals, and it had obviously closed behind me. But the floor was slippery as all buggery. And apparently, obviously, what's happened, they believed, is that I've slipped. And when I've slipped, I've put my hands out naturally to stop myself from falling. And I grabbed all these containers which were just filled with ice water and product. Everything's fallen on top of me, the shelving and all. My brain's basically smacked solid into the concrete again, apparently. And then when they got to me and they pulled me out, they don't know how many hours I'd been in there. I was clinically dead, but not brain dead. After all of that, I mean, I spent roughly about 6 months learning to walk and talk again, because when I came around, I couldn't talk, I couldn't move. So it was basically like a newborn baby. And so I had to learn all that stuff again. And then eventually when I got back to my unit, I was told that I would no longer be allowed to go overseas or go north, south, east or west or handle any equipment. I was basically told that my options were going to be an honourable medical discharge, or you can sit at the desk. And I thought, I did not join to sit at a desk, and I'm not going to sit at a desk in a uniform and deal with all the BS that goes along with service life and not actually be able to at least go out and have some fun. So I left. I said, yeah, no, I'll take the medical honourable discharge. And then after that, just like any, I suppose, soldier, was like, oh, I've got to find a job. So I just tried to find any job that I could. My son, he has special needs that he deals with. There was a holiday program actually going on for UB. It was game art development, and he was really into computers and still is. We sort of went with the school, said, sure, get into the program, blah, blah, blah. And they were like, look, we can't get funding for someone to look after him because he's also got diabetes and stuff. And so both me and my wife were working, and she said, oh, look, I'll look after him for the, most of the program. And then I think it was the second week, because she was on holiday, she said, look, I'm tired, I need some time off. And I said, sure. I said, look, I'll finish work early and I'll come in and I'll sit at the back of the classroom, keep an eye on him, make sure he's okay. A couple of the department heads were coming through UB, and they popped their head in and they saw me and they were like, oh, want to have a coffee? And so, yeah, I went for a coffee and had a chat with a couple of them, and they sort of said, oh, what do you do? And so forth and so forth. And I sort of said, yeah, I'm sick of it. I'm just going to look for something else to do. I'm looking for a change, sort of thing. One of them said to me, they said, oh, have you ever thought of being creative? Do you like to create stuff? Do you think creative? And I said, oh, I've always loved the idea of creating something. I said, I've always loved the film industry and the sort of entertainment industry in general, especially like with games and movies. And they said to me, well, have you thought about coming and studying? And I just went, yeah, what am I going to be, the old man on campus? And they were like, no, you'd be great. You wouldn't actually be the oldest that we've had. And it sparked something in my brain. It just wouldn't let go. And I spoke to two older friends that I know, and I spoke to my wife, Kath, and it was just like, is this a midlife crisis? Have I gone off the reservation? Am I losing my mind? Should I just go, no, look, don't do this, don't be a fool. And they were all like, no, you've always wanted to be creative, you've always thought creatively, you've always loved to try and be creative and problem solving and so forth. And they said, you should do it. And so one thing led to another, and it was kind of sort of like, okay, let's do this. My passion, I think, for VFX is wanting to make stuff and create stories and bring stories to life that either so fantastic that people, they're like, wow, how would that actually look? And then to actually make it look real, but also make it look believable real. The stories that I read as a kid, the comic books I would read, or the novels that you would read, and your mind would envision and what this world would look like. Whereas with now, you've got all the VFX work and CGI work and so forth that can actually help bring that to life and actually help tell the story. And that's, I think, where my passion is. My passion is to want to bring it to life and to actually entertain people, and even have moments where people go, I did not even realize that that was CGI'd or that was a VFX shot, just to actually help tell a story. That's my passion.